Did you know that 1 in 3 people over 65 years old suffers a fall at least once a year? And even more serious, in many of these cases the fall does not happen due to carelessness or external accidents, but due to internal difficulties of the body itself, loss of balance, lack of strength in the legs, insecurity when walking. Now tell me, have you or someone you love ever fallen inside the house or on the street and became afraid to walk again? Because if the answer is yes, know that you are not alone, and more importantly, it is possible to change this reality. The truth is that this fear starts small. First, the person trips on the carpet, slips in the bathroom, or almost falls on the sidewalk. Then, they avoid going out for a walk. They no longer want to go to the market alone or visit their grandchildren. Getting up at night to go to the bathroom becomes a battle between sleep and fear. The light is off. The body takes time to react. The feet seem not to obey. And when fear sets in, it starts taking over the small routines. Stairs become obstacles, sidewalks become threats, and even the floor at home no longer seems safe. Perhaps you are remembering someone now. Perhaps you see yourself in this description, and that's okay. That's why we're here. This video was made especially for those who feel this kind of insecurity, for those who have fallen, almost fallen, or are afraid of falling. And once again, don't worry, because in the end, you'll learn about real solutions that work and have changed the lives of many people. Let me tell you a real story. Mrs. Betty is 74 years old, an active woman who always enjoyed walking through the neighborhood park, going to the bakery, and taking care of the plants in the backyard. One day, returning from Mass, she tripped on a small elevation on the sidewalk and fell. It wasn't a serious fall, she didn't break anything, but she hit her knee and the scare was so great that she became afraid to leave the house. In the first few days, she said she was in pain. After that, she stopped going to the bakery. She started watching Mass on television. By the time her children noticed, Mrs. Betty had already been staying at home for weeks. The fear of falling again caused her to withdraw, and that simple stroll that used to bring her joy turned into a constant threat. This type of situation is more common than it seems. A fall is not just a stumble. It affects the mind, the emotions, the sense of freedom. Many people stop walking, not because they can't, but because they're afraid. And this silent fear slowly strips away their autonomy. It strips away their self-esteem. It undermines their daily life. Not to mention the cases where there are fractures, hospitalization, and a long recovery period, which often leaves the person even more fragile. And the families? They often don't know what to do. They want to help, but they don't know how. The children buy canes, install grab bars, rearrange the furniture. But even with all good intentions, the insecurity remains. Because it's not just the environment that needs to change, it's the body, the mind, the confidence. It's the way of walking, of stepping, of feeling secure with each step. To give you an idea, falls are one of the leading causes of hospitalization among people over 60. And when we talk about hospitalization, it's not just the hospital. It's the impact that it generates. Loss of mobility, use of strong medications, surgeries, physical therapy, changes in lifestyle. And all of this could be avoided with information, guidance, and small daily actions. But what causes these falls? There are various reasons, and most of them don't appear suddenly. It's a process. First, there's the loss of muscle mass, something natural with aging, but which can be prevented and treated. Then, balance starts to fail. The reflections are no longer the same. Vision may not perceive well the uneven floors. The foot does not respond as quickly, and the body, slower, cannot react firmly in the face of an imbalance. And the most worrying thing is that many people ignore these signs. They feel they are stumbling more, but think it's normal. They avoid talking about the fear of falling, out of shame or believing there is no solution. But there is, and that's what we want to reinforce here. This fear can be overcome, these falls can be avoided, and your freedom to walk safely can be regained. Imagine waking up in the morning and going to the kitchen without fear of slipping. Imagine going out for a walk, looking at the sky, feeling the wind on your face, and knowing your steps are firm. This is possible. It doesn't matter how many falls you've had or how long you've felt this insecurity. Because when we understand what's happening in our bodies and learn to strengthen the right points, everything starts to change. And more than numbers, we're talking about lives. Lives that can be transformed with small guidelines. Because there's no need for big, radical changes. Often, a simple adjustment in posture, a light exercise, or a support technique makes a huge difference. And that's why this video exists, to show that there is a way, that it doesn't have to be difficult, and that it starts with the right information. If you've made it this far and recognized yourself in any part of this conversation, you've taken the first step. And that's very important, because when we recognize that something needs to change, the change has already begun. And the good news is that, in the next block, you'll understand why so many people go through this and end up trying to solve it the wrong way. We'll show you the most common mistakes and why they make the situation worse. But most importantly, we'll prepare you for what's to come, the solutions that really work. So stay with us, because what's coming next is even more important. And it will help you walk with much more security and confidence. Everything can be resolved, and you'll see how. Now that you've understood the severity of the problem and recognized that this may be affecting your life or the life of someone close, it's time for us to calmly discuss the reasons why so many elderly people continue to fall, even after having faced scares or even more serious accidents. And believe me, many good people with good intentions end up making choices that worsen the situation without even realizing it. But as always, I want to reassure you right away. We're here to guide you, show you the right path, and make it very clear that yes, this has a solution. And once you understand what's happening, it becomes much easier to make the right decisions. One of the main reasons why so many elderly people continue to suffer from falls is the lack of clear information. Many people simply don't know what's happening inside the body as the years go by. The changes are slow, sometimes almost imperceptible. First comes that tiredness that seems normal. Then the heavy legs, the slower gait, a stumble here and there. And as all of this arises gradually, many people end up thinking it's just a natural part of age. But it's not quite like that. Aging does bring changes, yes, but that doesn't mean you have to accept living in fear or insecurity. What's really lacking most of the time is the right guidance. Another point that hinders a lot is the search for quick solutions, and here it's not out of malice. When someone sees that they're having difficulty walking, they want to solve it right away. It's natural. Then they start using any old cane without knowing if it's the right model. Or they buy a walker without receiving any explanation on how to position it, how to adjust the height, how to use it in the safest way. And often these equipment, instead of helping, end up creating a false sense of security, which can result in more accidents. Without discussing the cases where people start taking painkillers or muscle relaxants, thinking that will solve everything, but without treating the actual cause of the difficulty. And this leads us to another very common problem: incomplete or poorly guided treatments. Have you ever seen someone start physical therapy and stop after a few sessions because they thought they were already better? Or do the exercises on their own, without supervision? This happens all the time. The body needs continuous stimulation. If there is no consistency, if there is no direction, the results don't appear or disappear quickly. And then, the person thinks there's no way out. But there is. Just that it needs to be done the right way. And the right way is not always the most obvious. There are also the mistakes that families themselves make, wanting to protect. One of the most common is to leave the elderly sitting still. After a fall, for fear of it happening again, many people say, "Stay seated, don't get up alone, don't walk without someone nearby." Of course, the intention is to protect, but this ends up further weakening the muscles, balance, and autonomy. The body was made to move, and the more still it stays, the more difficulty it will have later. It's a dangerous cycle. Fear leads to inactivity. Inactivity leads to weakness. Weakness increases the risk of falling, and the cycle starts again. Another common mistake is the incorrect use of canes and walkers. They are great when properly indicated, but can be dangerous when used incorrectly. I have seen cases of people using canes that are too low, which strain the spine, or poorly adjusted walkers that make the person lean forward and lose balance. It is also common to see people using this equipment inside the house, but taking it off to go outside, thinking it will be inconvenient or that others will notice. And then, precisely in the most dangerous environments, the person is without the support that could protect them. And there are those who rely solely on medications or supplements. Sure, they have their role. Vitamin D, calcium, medications for blood pressure control and other conditions are important, yes, but alone, they don't solve the problem. They don't replace movement, muscle strengthening, balance training. Often the solution lies in doing the basics well, consistently. And this needs to be explained, reinforced, and monitored. Another point that many people ignore is adapting the home. A simple rug can be a trap. A light turned off in the hallway can become a real risk. A loose slipper, a poorly marked step, an unstable chair. These are small details that make a big difference. And the most incredible thing is that many of these changes are simple and accessible. But again, without guidance, they end up being forgotten or ignored. Now let's talk a little bit about what happens to the body over time. Without difficult terms, without complication. Just so you can understand in a simple way why walking can become more difficult. Over the years, our body naturally loses muscle mass. This is called sarcopenia. It's as if the muscles are becoming weaker, less efficient. And this mainly affects the legs, glutes and ankles, precisely the areas we need most to walk with stability. In addition, balance also changes. The systems that control balance involve the eyes, ears, and sensors we have in our feet and joints. All of this needs to be well adjusted for the body to know where it is in space. When one of these systems is weakened, whether by age, illness, or lack of stimulation, the body starts to respond more slowly, and then any stumble becomes a risk of falling. The nervous system also changes. Reflexes become slower. Spatial perception decreases. Even attention, which was once divided among several tasks, now needs to concentrate on keeping the body balanced. That's why walking while talking or carrying an object and walking at the same time can be more difficult for those who already have some degree of instability. But none of this is reason to despair. Quite the contrary, because understanding all this is the first step to overcoming it. And prevention, as always, is the best path. You don't have to wait for a fall to happen to start taking care of yourself. There are simple activities, adapted for all ages, that help strengthen muscles, improve balance, and restore confidence in walking. Sometimes, a light walk, an exercise of getting up and down from a chair, a balance practice holding onto a firm surface, already starts to show results. But all of this needs to be done with guidance, because what works for one person may not work for another. And here's an important point. Preventing is much more than just avoiding a problem. Preventing means giving your body the conditions to stay strong, agile, and prepared. It means giving you autonomy. It means giving you freedom. When you invest time and attention in prevention, you're investing in your quality of life, your well-being, your independence, and that's priceless. The right information has power. When you understand how your body works, when you know what's causing the fear or difficulty, you regain control. And when you have control, everything changes. So don't blame yourself if you or someone in your family has already made some of the mistakes we talked about here. It's normal. Most people go through this. The important thing is that now you know. And with this knowledge, you can do things differently. So pay attention to what follows, because in the next block, we're going to show you what really works. We're going to talk about practical techniques, simple movements, everyday adjustments that help you walk more safely. We're going to share with you what has already helped thousands of older people stop falling. And you'll realize that this is entirely possible. That with guidance, care, and small changes, you can start walking with steadiness, confidence, and freedom again. Everything can be resolved, and that's exactly what we're going to show you now. Now that you've understood what's behind the problem and why so many people end up trying to solve it the wrong way, it's time to learn about the solutions that really work. And the best part is that they're accessible, practical, and can be applied in your day-to-day life calmly, carefully, and with guidance. Everything you're about to hear has already helped thousands of people walk with confidence again. And if it worked for them, it can work for you too. Let's start with a simple but very effective technique known as the 3 points of support trick. This technique basically consists of ensuring that while walking, the body is always supported on at least 3 points. This means that with each step, you maintain 2 feet and 1 support, or 1 foot, a cane, and another point of balance. The idea is to never have all your weight on a single point of support. This drastically reduces the risk of imbalance. When applied correctly, this technique offers more steadiness, more stability, and helps train the brain for safer movements. Of course, ideally, at the beginning, this exercise should be done with accompaniment or in safe places, such as inside the home, near a wall, or with someone you trust nearby. Now tell me here in the comments, have you ever tried any of these solutions or identified with any part of the story? Sharing your experience can also help others. Often, what seems small to you may be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take the first step. Moving forward, let's talk about how to strengthen your legs and ankles with simple exercises that make a huge difference. One of the most effective is the act of sitting and standing from the chair, slowly, with control. It seems easy, but it is one of the best ways to strengthen thighs and glutes, fundamental muscles for balance. You can do this by holding onto the arms of the chair at first, and then, over time, try to do it without support, always respecting your limits. Another very useful exercise is heel raises. Just stand up, hold onto a firm surface and raise your heels off the floor, standing only on your toes for a few seconds before lowering them. This exercise activates the calf muscles, which helps stabilize the body in motion. And if possible, using resistance bands to make light movements with your feet can also help improve ankle strength. Ideally, these exercises should be guided by a health professional, especially if you have had any recent limitations or surgery. If this made sense to you, share it with someone who also needs this information. It may seem simple, but it can make all the difference in the life of someone going through this. Sometimes a tip like this can prevent a fall, give someone the courage to try again, or open a new path to recovery. In addition to exercises, it is essential to adapt the environment. The home needs to be a safe place, especially for those who already have limitations. Remove slippery rugs, especially those small ones that become loose on the floor. They are responsible for many accidents. Put non-slip tapes or simply remove these items from circulation. On the way to the bathroom, install nightlights or small lamps that turn on when they detect motion. This facilitates nighttime movement and reduces the risk of tripping. Near the bed, place a firm support, a bar on the wall, or a side support point. In the shower stall, install safety bars and use rubber mats. Avoid high bathtubs and slippery surfaces. These simple adaptations can save lives. Another change that helps a lot is in your posture while walking. Most people look down when walking, afraid of tripping, but this actually impairs balance. The ideal is to keep your head up, look towards the horizon, keep your shoulders relaxed, and take short, firm, mindful steps. When we walk with our gaze ahead, the body aligns better and balance improves naturally. Avoiding abrupt turns or rapid movements also helps. Everything should be done with presence, with full attention, step by step. Speaking of mindfulness, breathing plays a fundamental role in this process. Taking a deep breath before getting out of bed, before starting to walk, or before climbing a step helps the brain focus on the movement. Inhale calmly, exhale slowly. Keep your focus on your body. This simple act of conscious breathing reduces anxiety, which is one of the greatest enemies of stability. The fear of falling creates tension, and this tension disrupts movements, stiffens muscles, and disorganizes steps. Learning to control your breathing is a powerful tool for walking more safely, and all of this is directly reflected in self-esteem. Walking well is more than a physical movement. It's a gesture of freedom, autonomy, and independence. That's why it's always worth persisting, because even after falls, even after difficult moments, it's possible to start over. Mrs. Betty, for example, whom you met in the first block, started taking walks in the park with her grandchildren again after 3 months of applying these tips. She started slowly, with support and supervision, but over time she regained her confidence. Today she walks with more firmness, and more than that, she started smiling again, she started feeling alive again. Stories like hers show that it's never too late, that there's always a new chance. If you enjoy content like this, click like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to receive more health and wellness tips for those over 60. We have lots of materials that can help you transform your routine with ease and confidence. Let's do a quick recap to reinforce what we've covered so far. First, the 3-point support technique, which is a safe and practical way to walk with stability. Then, simple exercises that strengthen legs and ankles, such as sitting and standing, heel raises, and using resistance bands. We also discussed important home adaptations, removing rugs, improving lighting, and installing supports in strategic locations. And of course, the importance of proper posture and conscious breathing. Each of these actions alone helps a lot. But together, they create a safe environment, a stronger body, and a more confident mind. And if you want to solve this once and for all, check out the link we left in the description with more detailed guidance, free materials, and even classes with movement specialists for the elderly. There are step-by-step instructions, explanatory videos, and everything you need to start now, safely and at your own pace. Falling doesn't have to be part of your routine. Walking with confidence and security is possible. And best of all, you don't have to do it alone. With small daily actions, you can transform your body, mind, and life. And the first step doesn't have to be big. It just needs to happen. Because once you start, everything around you starts to change too. It's never too late to take a step towards freedom. And that step can start today. If you're wondering if it's still worth starting now, even after so much time being afraid or struggling, the answer is yes. It's always worth it. The body, even as the years go by, continues to respond to care. It is still possible to strengthen muscles, improve balance, and regain stability. Nothing needs to happen overnight, but with small daily steps, results will appear. The most important thing is to have patience, consistency, and believe that it is possible. Often, the biggest challenge is not physical, but emotional. It's that inner voice saying there's no point in trying. But that voice doesn't define who you are. You can regain control of your movements and your freedom. Walking with confidence is not just about balance. It's about reclaiming the joy of living. It's about getting out of bed without fear, going out to get some sun, taking a walk around the block, and feeling the wind on your face. Simple things, but they mean so much when accompanied by security. It's also worth remembering the importance of nutrition, including foods rich in calcium and vitamin D, such as dark green vegetables, milk, eggs, and getting sun exposure at the right times, helps strengthen bones and muscles. Drinking plenty of water throughout the day and maintaining balanced meals also makes a difference. The body needs the right fuel to function well. And don't forget, you are not alone. Thousands of people face the same challenge every day. Talking to family, seeking professional support, and most importantly, taking that first step is what paves the way for a new phase. It could be a short walk today, a light exercise tomorrow, a home adjustment over the weekend. All of this added together builds a safer routine full of autonomy. You've already started by watching this far. Now, it's about continuing. Take care of yourself with kindness and patience. Your body deserves it, and so do you.